يدك أو يدكم لو أنتم تكلمي عربية. ما شاء الله ما شاء الله. عشان عبد الله بيقرأ بالعربي وأبراء بيقرأ بالإنجليزي. أقب. شكرا. So, please, I would like to introduce our guest of honour, Professor Mary Claire Cordonnier Seger, who's come all the way from Cambridge University in the United Kingdom to be here. And Professor Mary Claire was one of the initial people who started this amazing competition. So please have a seat. You've got some mics there, and then we will start. Thank you so much. A big round of applause for Professor Mary Claire. Thank you. So, thank you all for coming today. Which schools are here? Someone shout out, this school? This school? That school? That school? Bravo, bravo. That's brilliant. So, these two young students on the stage, sitting next to me is Abdullah, and then next to him is Abrar. They both won. They were winners in Voices of the Future Generation competition in 2021. And their stories are now going to be published and available across the world for children to read. So we want to tell you a little bit about this to start with. So I'm going to ask Professor Mary Claire to tell us about Voices of Future Generations and how you can become a child author if you want to be and if you understand what the story has to contain.
Hello. Well, how lovely. One more time, louder. Hello. Much better. It's wonderful to be here with you. I have flown here from the United Kingdom, and before this, Canada. And it is so inspiring to see children like yourselves that are interested in reading books and in writing. Now, my Arabic is only shukran. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for receiving me and being wonderful hosts that I have met many universities and leaders from your countries in the last 2 days that I've been here. The Voices of Future Generations children's book series and children's initiative was born before the coronavirus COVID-19, when children were still traveling to many events around the world and being able to participate without worrying about having to be careful about their health and having to be careful about meeting new people. And it was born especially because of other children like you in Africa, in Canada, in Latin America, and in Europe, and also in Asia, who wanted their voices to be heard. They were worried about the environment. They were worried about children who did not have enough to eat. They were also worried about their health and their access to education, if they could go to school. And so they began to write stories about the things that concerned them. The United Nations Education, Science, and Culture Organization, together with the World Future Council, which is many, many leaders from around the world who come together, Nobel Prize winners, others, decided to support those children and help them to hear their voices. So we began with 3 books and 3 stories. The first one was called The Tree of Hope, and it came from this country. A little girl, Kikashan Basu, who wrote a story about a girl in the desert. The second one, which was very powerful in its own way, was another little girl who wrote a story in Papua New Guinea on an island in the Pacific Ocean. Her story was about an invisible friend who helped her to stand up for other girls. And the third story that came to us, that became the first child authors who started to travel the world, was from the UK, Canada, and Switzerland. Yes, the boy had 4 passports. He also had one from Germany. And his story was about magical inventions that were created by a boy and his little brother who found out about it. Those stories went worldwide in many, many languages. And as the stories were shared, more children heard about other children learning to write and share their voices. We set up an international commission because so many stories were arriving to us from so many parts of the world. And we reached out to Arabia, to the young voices of Arabia, and we said, will you be our partners? Will you help to select the best stories from your region, from children? And they will be published as books telling stories that children want other children around the world to hear. Now, there are nearly 30 of these books, all from different parts of the world, all written by different leaders. As the children who are part of the initiative get older, they propose things to us, and I hope you will be proposing things to us as well. Yeah. Can you guess what their idea was when the child authors from your region, from the Emirates, heard that there were other children around the world writing stories who wanted to talk to them? Can anyone guess? Put up your hand if you can guess what their first question was to us. What do you think it was? Okay, I'm going to need a microphone to our speaker. Is there a volunteer who can help? Ah, there's a nice man bringing you a microphone. Excellent. And tell us your name and your school name, okay?
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Hello, my name is Dia. I am from Summit International School. I
Excellent.
think is the story that they did is about maybe a
Hold it really close to your mouth.
Yeah.
I think the story that they did about is about a story like about superpower or something like that.
Very good. Actually, what they asked about was, would it be possible to meet the other children whose stories about superpowers, whose stories about new ideas we have read but we've never seen? And so, in 2015, just as the United Nations was holding a meeting to decide on the Sustainable Development Goals, we held a Children's Summit. In New York, we took over the United Nations with children, and the children presented and got to know each other. So, can anyone think, what would be one problem the world leaders would be talking about in New York that the children were also talking about? Do you want to go ahead? We have a little one right down here, and you can stand up, you can tell me your school name, and then we will hear your idea. One problem in the world that the leaders were trying to solve.
My name is Rutvika and I'm from Bright Rider School. I think they might have faced problems. The leaders must have thought the children can't do anything. They are weaker than the leaders, but children can do many wonderful things.
You are completely right. You and your friend are completely right. Children wanted to meet other children, and they wanted to share their stories and their superpowers, and the children wanted to know that the leaders could hear the voices of children and could understand what children were caring about and could try their best to improve things. And so the children presented their ideas to the leaders, and the leaders listened, And the leaders said, "You are all now ambassadors for our new United Nations Sustainable Development Goals." They actually gave them certificates to be ambassadors. And they said, "From now on, we will hear the voices of children. You write your stories. We will publish them in the 6 United Nations in languages, and they will go worldwide." And they introduced us to something called the world's largest lesson. The world's largest lesson, and this is for the teachers who are patiently here bringing their students, gathers together information and materials and books on each sustainable development goal. And each time a child writes a book, their book is added to the curriculum, to your materials, for every class around the world that uses the world's largest lesson. And that's thousands and thousands of classes in 160 countries. So I have one more question for you, if someone would like to think about an answer. And my question is, could you one day be a writer too? Do I have somebody from a different school? Go ahead. Do you want to introduce yourself and then tell me if you could be a writer? And then I'm going to see if everybody else has an answer to that as well.
Yes, I want to be a writer. I want to write a story about going to space.
Amazing. And what is your name and your school?
My name is Alina Akhtar, and I'm in Bright Rider School.
Wonderful. You're a credit to your school, little one.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask everyone the same question. Would you be able to make sure your voice is heard? Very good.
Thank you so much, Professor Marie-Claire. Now, I'm going to say something. Is this a sustainable development goal? End poverty. Yes, yes, end poverty. So there are 17 sustainable development goals that the United Nations has asked all countries to work on. And if I'm correct, number 1 is end poverty. It's also clean water, quality education. There are still children in the world who are not able to access education. So these are the things that our children, our child authors are writing about. Now, I'm going to speak to, first of all, Abra. Abra is a keen learner and a homeschooler. His favorite activities are playing games with his family and spending time with his cat, Wolfie. He hopes to see change in the field of Sustainable Development Goal 7, which is clean and affordable energy, production, storage. So, Abra, can you tell us how you managed to come up with the amazing story? Abra's story is a fantasy story. Can you tell these children here today a little bit about your story?
So my story is about 3 siblings, and they work together. They stumble upon these spirits, and then along with the spirits, they work together to clean up various environments. And eventually, I won't spoil the ending, but there is a message about partnerships for the goals at the end.
Thank you very much, Abra. And Abdullah Ismail Abu Shahab, who's sitting here, Salaam alaikum, Abdullah, wrote a wonderful story. Abra is 10, and his favorite subject at school is maths. Who here likes maths? Who here likes English? Who here likes drama? Okay, who here likes Arabic? Well done. So, like Abdullah, Abdullah loves maths. So, I'm going to ask Abdullah a question. He's going to answer in both English and Arabic, and Jacob will translate the Arabic for us. So, Abdullah, you chose SDG reduced inequalities. So what Abdullah chose was reduced inequalities, because if we have no money, we are not equal to those who have money. So reduced inequalities means that Abdullah's story is about making everyone equal in the world. So you chose reduced inequalities as one of the key themes of your lovely story. Why is this so important?
It is important. It is important because we must treat everyone fairly. العالم يحتاج إلى أن يكون مكانا عادلا للجميع بغض النظر عن أشكالهم أو أسمائهم. يجب أن نتعاون جميعا لنحقق التقدم في العالم. لا ينبغي أن يعاني أحدهم من التنمر. علينا أن نعمل معا لنحقق هذه الأهداف لنحقق التقدم في العالم.
Shukran, Abdullah. Shukran.
Thank you,
Jacob.
thank you, Abdullah. So Abdullah is saying that the world, it should be a fair place where everyone is getting equal opportunities, no matter of their skin color, their names, their religion. We have to be bully-free. We have to be all in a place where we are respected. This is how we can see progress in the world toward a better future.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, everyone here, listen very carefully. If you have a voice, do you think the world is going to listen to you? Right, right. I want someone from the back to tell me what they would like to see in our world change. So stand up, someone will get a mic to you. Yes, yes, here we go. We've got one here, Jacob, there. In yellow, the boy in yellow shirt. Sorry, there.
I would like peace and honesty. Every country should come together and unite.
Peace. That is amazing. Big round of applause for you. Okay, let's have another. There's one right over here. Right over here. Jacob's going to whiz round to you. That was brilliant. Peace. We wish we have peace in our world because it is a time we need to come together. Right. Here. Okay, right. Think about what you'd like, and then after this question, put your hand up, yeah?
To stop pollution.
Stop pollution. Absolutely. That's an amazing one. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And right. Who else has got something? There's someone here, and then we'll have one at the back. One here.
I want to stop the wars.
Stop the wars. Thank you. Brilliant. Has anyone thought about nature, about sea life, about other things? The ocean? Yes, yes. Let's get someone. There's lots of questions, lots of answers.
What? Nature?
Right. Yes?
We should stop polluting natures and protect the animals.
Protect the animals and stop polluting. Yes. Do you know does anyone here know how many endangered species of animals there are? Does anyone know that? I don't know how many, but I know it's a lot. Does anyone know? Do you know? Over a million animals are endangered. That means they will become extinct. There will be no more of them. Right. Yes.
Blue whale and whales are very endangered animals.
Yes, blue whales and whales. Well done. And do you know that whales have a language? We can't speak whale language, but they have their own language that they speak to each other in across miles.
Tigers
Yes.
are extinct.
Okay, we'll come back to the things your voices are saying, but what I would say is you have enormous power. You can change the world. Don't think because you're 8, 9, 10, 11 that you can't. You can. So now I'm going to ask Abra, tell us about what sustainable development goals you chose and how you had them in your story. If you want to read a bit of your story, that would be great. Okay, so let's listen to Abra.
So for my story, I chose SDG number 13, climate action, and 17, partnerships for the goals.
Did you hear that? What was the first one?
13, climate action.
Climate action and the
Partnerships for the goals.
Number 17, partnerships. Because we can't do it alone. So over to you, Abdullah. Do you want to read a bit of your story?
Sure. So I might not read anything right now because I think I don't want to spoil anything just yet. But definitely partnerships for the goals is one of the most important, if not the most important one, because the others can only be achieved with partnerships. So as I believe someone said, to unite the world, and we can do that in many, many different ways, including our voice.
Yes. Just while you're finding your page, who plays football?
Excellent. Please sit down and listen very quietly to your colleague who is here. He also chose a goal to try to take action on climate change. Do you know what climate change is? Just raise your hand without standing up. Okay. So I'm going to ask if you can explain what is climate change and why were you concerned about it? You might have to hold your mic very close.
So climate change is a very, very, very broad issue, and it affects so many things, not just us, but the animals and the habitats around us. So I chose it specifically because I've felt the effects of climate change with the rising temperatures and the lack of rain sometimes. So my story is very regionally themed. So it's set here in the UAE, in fact over here in Abu Dhabi. And they do notice quite a few environmental issues, including dry air and dirty water and other things. So we have a very beautiful habitat here. We have, sandy beaches and palm trees all over the place. But if we don't take care of it, then climate change will take over and eventually everything could disappear.
You're very right. And the little boy who said that we needed to stop pollution, one of the kinds of pollution that you were speaking of is when gases come from our waste and gases come from our energy use, and they actually get into the atmosphere of the world and start to clog things up so that the climate starts to change and it becomes hotter and drier, just as you said. There will be a giant international expo here in November of the year to come, COP28. And they will be holding it in your countries, in your region, to come together as world leaders and help to solve climate change. I hope that many of you will be hearing about it and will be involved in climate change activities in your schools and also in your communities to be able to take action and help the world leaders to hear about these important concerns. Now, who knows what is climate change? Good. That means you're very good listeners, so your school can be proud of you.
Yes.
Try to find out everything you can because the world is coming to the Emirates in order to help solve it. Watch for COP28.
Thank you, Professor Marie-Claire. So, sorry, I asked who played football because Abra was talking about partnerships. So, if you play football, are you on your own or are you in a team? A team. So, a partnership is a team where everyone comes together to make it happen. If you are a great football player, someone said they were the best in their school, he can't do it without his team. Yes, so partnerships are teams. If you come together in your school, you can make a difference to our world, please. So, Abra, would you like to say anything else or read a little bit from your book before I turn to Abdullah?
I can read a bit from my book. Sure.
Yes, so Abra's book, who here likes fantasy? Who reads fantasy? Right, so Abra was telling me he's read all the books by a famous fantasy writer, Rick Riordan. He's from America, the fantasy writer. And when you read Abra's story, it is fantasy. It is an amazing, fantastical adventure story. So listen very carefully to what Abra's going to read from his story.
So I'm not starting exactly from the beginning. I'll read a tiny part from somewhere just after the beginning. Upon reaching the festival, the children wasted no time in going to their favorite activities. Amira headed off to the host display to see the hand-woven palm fronds, Rashid to the traditional performances, and Zain to the falconry contest. They agreed to meet at the palm date competition. As Amira got immersed in her craft and Rashid met up with his friends, Zain saw something most peculiar at the falconry contest. A silvery, translucent falcon with a white crescent on its chest that sat atop the highest dune, watching the others. "Excuse me, sir, whose falcon is that?" Zain asked the organizer while pointing at the silver falcon. The organizer squinted in the direction where the Zain was pointing. "Ya Habibi, there is no falcon there." Zain looked back at the dune and realized that the falcon was hopping towards him. He wondered why the falcon wasn't flying and why no one else could see it. As the silver falcon came closer, it appeared much larger than the others. Zain moved to a quieter area, and it followed him. "Why are you following me? You can see me? You can talk?" "I'm following you because I require help," the falcon replied calmly. "What kind of help?" Zain asked cautiously. "You're a real falcon, aren't you? Why don't you fly?" "I am a spirit falcon named Fida. I cannot fly because the skies are polluted," she answered. "I need you to take this whistle and blow it after sunset in the outer parts of the desert. This is a test to see if you are worthy," she explained as a small whistle materialized in front of her.
Thank you so much. A big round of applause for Abra. Now, Abra has created a fantasy world. Who's seen a falcon? Yeah, lots of you have seen a falcon. So it's a bird that lives here, is used to hunt in olden days, but it's a very special bird. But this falcon that Abra has created in his story has magical powers, like Superman, like Spider-Man. So now I'm going to ask Abdullah. Moza, his book is about a girl called Moza. And Moza has a birthmark, so she is born with a mark on her face. And when Moza goes to school, when she's 4 years old, other girls in the school make fun of her and are incredibly unkind. Now, I know none of you would do that, but Abdullah's book is about reducing inequalities, and Moza is our heroine. So, Moza finds her inner strength from the Ghaf tree and learns to overcome the challenges facing her. What can we learn from the Ghaf tree?
We can learn to be strong, even in difficult.
A little bit.
We can learn to be strong, even in difficult time. يمكننا أن نتعلم من شجرة الغاف أن نجد القوة الداخلية في أوقات الصعوبات ونكون صامدين ومثابرين مثلها في الحياة ونتقدم ونتقدم ونكون ناجحين.
Thank you very much.
May I ask all the children to be quiet and to pay attention? Thank you. So Abdullah said the question is, what can we learn from the Ghaf tree? And you know the Ghaf tree is a national tree here in UAE. We can learn perseverance. We can learn the inner power and inner strength, especially during the hardship time. We can be as powerful, as perseverant as the Gav tree to overcome the hardship time and reach the success that we want to have in our lives.
Thank you very much, Hagob. So, can all of you look and see there are some magic golden numbers on your chairs? Have anyone here got a golden number? Like a sticker like this on their chairs? Who's got those on their chair? Anyone? You've got one here, one there. So you hang on to that because there will be a golden prize that goes with that sticker, okay? All of you hang on to that. So, Abdullah, can I ask you to do a short reading, please, from your book? Thank you.
I think one of the school groups might have to go.
They might have come from quite a long way, and they thought it was for half an hour. Thank you to that school that are just going. We appreciate you've got to get home, back to school, and thank you for being here.
Could everyone else who is not from the school that has to leave sit down very, very quietly and listen to the reading?
But Abdullah's going to read you now, so please sit still for a moment. Over
And the
to you.
children who did not have a place to sit, you can now come forward and listen to the reading. Thank you.
Read.
One whole school.
Yeah. Had the same uniform. Please come forward if you are not from the school that has to leave.
Come to the front. Thank you. Come to the front, everyone else, please.
Please
Thank
come
you.
to the front.
Thank
Very
you very
good.
much. What is the name of your school? Very good. Thank you.
And
Thank
are you from a different school? What is the name of your school? Wonderful. Welcome.
Thank you. So if we listen now, Abdullah, you read. Thank you.
موزة شجرة الغاف في قرية بعيدة جدا كانت تعيش عائلة سعيدة ميسورة الحال فقد أعجبت الأم فتاة جميلة فرح الجميع بها ولكن هذه الفتاة ولدت وتحت عينيها اليسرى وحمة سوداء لم تهتم الأم بأمر هذه الوحمة لأنها ترى ابنتها جميلة جدا وترى في عينيها بريقا جميلا من التفاؤل والأمل حيث اسمتها والدتها موزة وكانت تحبها كثيرا وكلما بكت موزة أخذتها والدتها إلى شجرة الغاف بظلالها الكثيفة لتجلس تحتها وتغني لها فتهدأ موزة وتنام. كبرت الفتاة في يوم من الأيام طلبت من أمها أن تتركها لتلعب مع الأطفال الصغار في الخارج ووافقت والدتها على طلبها. خرجت موزة وعيناها يملؤها الفرح والسعادة لكنها عندما خرجت شاهدت نظرات غريبة من الأطفال وأخذوا يصرخون خوفا منها بسبب الوحمة المخيفة التي في وجهها. رجعت موزة إلى أمها باكية حزينة أرسلت دموعها في صمت على خديها وكانت تظهر خلفها نظرات حزينة منكسرة وبعدها قرر أن تغطي الوحمة السوداء بخصلة من شعره الأسود الجميل وأخبرت أمها بما فعل الأطفال معها. ثم قالت موزة لماذا اختلف عن الأطفال يا أمي؟ تبسمت والدتها ثم أخذتها أمها إلى شجرة الغاف. قالت لها موزة كوني كشجرة الغاف. نظرت موزة لأمها ثم نظرت إلى شجرة الغاف لكن لم تفهم ما تقصده أمها بكلامها هذا وبعد عدة سنوات كبرت موزة وأصبحت مستعدة لدخول المدرسة. كانت موزة سعيدة جدا لأنها سوف تحظى بأصدقاء جدد. ذهبت موزة إلى المدرسة وكلها نشاط وحيوية والفرحة تملأ قلبها. رحبت بها معلمتها وقامت بتعريفها على طلاب صفها، لكن سرعان ما تبدلت هذه الفرحة إلى حزن وقلق، فقد كانت نظرات الأطفال لها تزعجها بسبب تلك الوهمة التي تشوه وجهها. بالرغم من محاولاتها لإخفائها تحت شعرها، فقد كانت تسمع همسات السخرية من زملائها، فحبست دموعها حين رجوعها لبيتها، حيث ذهبت مسرعة إلى أمها وانفجرت باكية وقالت لها: لا أريد أن أذهب مرة أخرى لهذه المدرسة، فالجموع يسخن مني هناك. ضمتها والدتها إلى صدرها ثم تبسمت لها وقالت: موزة كوني كشجرة الغاف. نظرت موزة لأمها وتذكرت كلماتها ووالدتها عندما كانت صغيرة في تلك الشجرة.
شوف هذا موزة في this is Mosa in the book, okay? And right, now, who here thinks they can write a good adventure story? All right, so these adventure stories, Abra, what is the important thing they have to include in the adventure stories? Because it's voices of future generations. Can you tell these budding writers?
So the most important thing for these specific Voices of Future Generations is to include one of the SDGs.
Yes, you've got to have in your story, as these two wonderful winners have done, one of the SDGs, one of the Sustainable Development Goals, whether it's reducing poverty, whether it's quality education, whether it's reducing inequalities, whether it's partnerships. You have to include that in your story, in your adventure story. And there is a limit to it. It can't be, it's about 1,500 words in Arabic or English. And we have to say a huge thank you to our Goodwill Ambassador for Voices of Future Generations for the region, Her Highness Sheikh Hassa bint Hamdan bin Rashid Al Maktoum, who has made this whole initiative in Arabia possible. Without her support and her guidance, we couldn't have done it. And she takes a keen interest in all of you and your stories, you young people. So, can you tell me, someone put their hand up and say, do you think you could think up a character in a book? Yes? Can we give the mic here? What kind of character would you have in your book?
I think that the character that in the book should be a girl who named Sarah.
That sounds good. Okay, and here, can we take it to here? What would your character be?
It will be a boy who is like very brave and adventurous.
Okay, and do you have a sustainable development goal that he'll be on a mission like Superman or Spider-Man, that he'll be on a mission to help our world?
Yes.
What?
Like he would go through walls or anything.
He would?
Go through walls or be very fast.
He would stop wars? He'd stop wars. Okay, yeah. Okay. There's one there, please. Let's hear about your character. And there's one here.
My character would be like having all the marvelous powers.
All the marvelous powers. And what would he change in our world? How would he help our world?
He would like help stop fighting, stop pollution, help animals and all.
Okay. And then we have one right over here, please, over here. And then, Abra, I want you to ask a question about how they're going to write this story, and then I will ask you, Abdullah, as well.
My character would have the power of making equality for everybody.
Equality for everybody. Thank you. That's a really good one. In the front?
My character would be a kind person who will end world hunger.
World hunger. Excellent. Because everyone needs food and everyone needs water to survive, whether we're human beings, whether we're animals, wherever we are, we cannot survive without those. Yes.
I would do a character that's too brave and too smart. It will help people to be more beautiful and more smarter, like the character that I'm talking about.
More beautiful.
And more
Maybe
smarter
having-
and more braver.
They become strong and beautiful and brave and smart because they can go to school.
Yeah.
Then that would be the SDG 4 on education.
Yes.
Well done.
Yes, that's a good one. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. I think you are amazing, and I really hope we're going to see lots of stories from you. Please, you can find out all the details about this on the Voices of Future Generations website, and it tells you what age you have to be, how many words, etc. Yes, your question.
My character will be a character who always wants to help people, but by an accident he became very fast, and with that super speed he wants to help other people.
So if he wants to help other people, would he be helping them to get clean water or to get better clean energy or to stop climate change? What would he be helping them to do?
He will stop climate change with the speed, and he will stop all the villains who are destroying the planet.
Stop all the villains who are destroying the planet.
Okay.
That's wonderful.
Abra, can I ask you, would you mind asking them a question about how they're going to write the story? So what question would you think they need to start with?
Sure. So, can any of you tell me what challenges is your character going to have to overcome to help other people, internal or external?
Okay, so what challenges is your character, your hero or heroine, going to have to overcome? Yes, there you go.
What character?
What challenge, so what difficulties is your character going to have to face to end up helping everyone?
It's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah.
But think maybe your character doesn't have his two parents, and so he needs to find someone who will listen to him and help him. Maybe a teacher. Would that be a challenge they could overcome? Maybe their parents are working far away.
If you need to think about it, that's okay.
You need to think about it, and then we'll come back to you.
After
That was a
someone
really good question, Abra.
else.
Okay.
Can anyone else think of a challenge? Maybe our friend whose character is going to end world hunger?
There's one over there first, right?
Okay.
My superhero is going to overcome the fear of racism.
Very good. The fear
End
of racism.
racism.
Yeah.
And he's going to help other people to stop racism.
Absolutely. And actually, that was one of the messages that was chosen by one of the prize winners a few years ago, because a little boy in the story that came from this region was told he could not play in the chess club because his skin was a different color than the others. How terrible, hey? And he overcame that challenge and he became a chess champion.
But
That's a
I
very
also
good one.
overcame that fear.
That's a very good one. And I would imagine you do, darling. We had the World Hunger
Yes.
SDG. What kind
Yes.
of challenge would you overcome? Yeah, at the front.
She will overcome her fears of going to other places because she needs to go to other places to end world hunger.
Absolutely. So she wants to stay close to home, but she knows she needs to work with many other people, and she overcomes her fears.
So I'm going to ask Abdullah, if you ask a question in Arabic about what do you think they will have to do to write a story بالعربي.
أوكي. اتبع خيالك واكتب حتى لو كان سطرا كل يوم وعرضها على زملائك أو حتى معلماتك وأيضا عائلتك ولا تخف من أي شيء وكن فخورا بنفسك.
Thank you. Can you translate it for those who don't speak Arabic so you can all have a chance to answer? Shukran, Abdullah.
Sure. So basically, Abdullah is saying you have to follow your imagination, you have to accept the challenge, you have to go outside the box, you have to think, and don't get afraid that from failure. You know, you have to try. And after that, ask your parents, your siblings, your teachers, get their opinion, and let this encourage you to continue your passion and to reach your goals.
Who can answer that? That's really good advice from Abdullah. And I think overcoming your fear of becoming a writer and having your story here is so worth it. And look at all the amazing books that have been produced that Professor Marie Claire has here for us to see. So lots of you have said you're going to write stories and enter the competition. And you can write them at home. You can ask your teachers. You've got some wonderful teachers here who can give you some ideas. You can find out what the Sustainable Development Goals are. But also maybe you, if you've got a character, then that is a beginning part of where you can start. Has anyone from either the teachers or the students, have you got any questions of our winners, our child authors today? If you have a question, please put your hand up. Yes, here's one. Yes, here in the front row. All right. So if you'd like to stand up and ask your question, please.
And remind everyone of your name and your school.
What did you do so you can win?
Well, I didn't win on my first time in the competition. This was, I actually entered for the second time when I won. So it was really, the team were super helpful. So it's great to work with them. But it's really about criticizing yourself, seeing what was wrong in your first story and what was wrong in what you wrote before, and really trying your hardest to improve that, even if it means going through multiple stories or ideas.
Thank you. Thank you. There's another one there. Yeah, thank you.
What made you like writing?
What made you like writing, Abra?
That's an interesting one. Probably reading. I read books and the way that they make you feel, they take you on a journey, and I thought, you know, I want to be able to take someone on that journey, inspire them in that way. It's probably reading.
Amazing, amazing. Yes, we have another question here. Oh, one here, بالعربي?
Yeah.
Hey, Hag Abdullah.
كم يوم أو شهر ضليت حتى تكتب القصة.
Okay. Come, what did...
So how long it...
No,
so
no, بالعربي, Hag Abdullah. He didn't hear it.
Yeah.
هو يسأل كم يوم أو شهر أخذ معك وقت لتكتب القصة.
أنا أخذ يعني تقريبا هيك يعني بالفكر إنه الكلمات تنطق على بعض يعني نقول شهرين.
So 2 months.
Yeah.
Abdullah, and he was only 8 years old. He took 2 months to think about it, to write, and then he rewrote it and he read it to himself, etc. How many here like reading? Put your hand up if you like reading. Okay. Someone say their favorite book. Just shout it out. Harry Potter. Harry Potter. Harry Potter. So Harry Potter has to overcome a lot of challenges in his life to get to the end of the series. So writing is exactly the same. There are lots and lots of challenges. Yes, who's got a question for either of our amazing child author winners? Over here, please. Can we have a mic over that side?
Why did you decide to become a writer?
Wasn't really an active choice. I entered the competition. I didn't really know what to think of it. So I just gave it my best, and I found that it was like really enjoyable. And the process of writing, and then I ended up getting my book published. It filled me with a want to write, sort of. So I ended up then going again and then again for a third time. So I guess that's how.
Who inspired you to write stories?
Ooh, another tough one. Probably the authors whose books I read.
So one thing that I've heard from every successful writer, whether it's J.K. Rowling, Rick Riordan, to become a writer, what is the one thing you have to do? Can you think? What is the one thing you have to do? Yes? Work hard, yeah, but there's another thing. There's another secret, yes?
Use your imagination.
Use your imagination. Yes?
To read more books.
Yes, yes, clap. You cannot be a writer if you don't read, because when you read a story like Harry Potter or like Rick Riordan or any of the other wonderful children's books, the writer takes you somewhere else. You join their world that they have created. So every time you read a book, you are being filled with ideas and creativity that then help you use your imagination, which is what you said. We are running out of time. Yes, please. Please.
One of the children who started writing through this series, he had a problem in his brain that made it harder for him to read and write. It's sometimes called dyslexia. You might have heard of it worldwide. It affects 1 out of 5 children. So he was very determined, and he didn't want to let it stop him. And he started trying just to teach himself how to read. And at first, when he was asked to read in the classroom, he would ask somebody to read it to him, and he would memorize the word that he needed to know. And then he would look at the story, and he would say the words, and everyone would think he was reading. And they thought he was a good reader. And because of that, they didn't know he was dyslexic until he had to learn how to write. And then it became very clear that when he wanted to write the word dog, he would write by accident God. And all sorts of challenges like that. From would become for, and no one could tell. Instead of giving up, he took home 10 words every night, and he wrote them out like you or I would draw a tree or a mountain. And he would bring them back into his teacher in the morning. She agreed to meet him before school. And she would give him a spelling test. And he would do the spelling test, extra. And any of the ones he got wrong, he would do it again. When he had learned 60 words, she said, you can write a sentence. When he had learned 6,000 words, and it took many months, she said, you can write a story. He wrote his story, and if you can hold it up, this is his 4th book. We chose his story on the jury, first because they were wonderful stories, and like my colleague here, he never gave up writing and reading, but second because he showed the determination that is needed to overcome a challenge and become a writer. His story was his first proof that he had learned how to spell. And now he's winning British math Olympiads for his school. He still writes slowly, but he writes very well. And I think all of you, if you show that same determination and that same sticking with it that is needed, which my friend here has also told us about, you will be able to also be child authors in your own school, in your own community, and internationally with all of us. Thank you.
So we have a question or a comment.
Actually, I don't have a question. I have like a small advice to good people. Make sure that readers of today, leaders of tomorrow.
Yeah.
Thank you
Yes, thank you. So I think it was the 12th century, Cicero said, read to lead. And we've just heard that. So it's still really important. Thank you for being a fabulous audience. I'd like to thank Abdullah and Abra, our child authors, for giving up time out of their learning today to be here and share their journey and their story to become published authors and winners of Voices of Future Generations. Please think about your stories now and think about which sustainable development goals mean the most to you and weave those into the stories. It's been an absolute honor to have our guest of honor, Professor Marie-Claire Cordonnier-Seger from Cambridge University, to be with us today. A big round of applause, please. And we have books are available if you like to line up. And what about the lucky winners?
Yes, there's a couple of lucky winners with stickers. If we could, if they could stand up, they've got.
Anyone who's got a sticker on their chair, stand up.
Right. If you come to the back here, we'll come and take a photo of you, and you win a book.
Yes. Well done, everyone. Thank you so much for coming today. And we look forward to seeing your lovely stories. Thank you to the wonderful teachers who brought you here today. Thank you, everyone. Shukran, Abdullah. Shukran, Abra.
The sticker went walking with the kids who left. Okay. Can I give them one book?
Yes, yes, please do.